Boys, the biggest game of the night, I think all three of us can agree, was the Michigan Wolverines getting a quad one win on the road against the Iowa Hawkeyes, who are still without a quad one win. I wasn't going to mention that, but being the genuine reporter that I am these days, I feel obligated to. Michigan with an 84-79 victory. The big story for them, Musa Diabate with 28 points and 8 rebounds. The freshman is starting to play like the highly ranked recruit that Michigan fans had hoped that he would be. Coming into this game, fielding the 68 bracketology show that we do on this very network had Michigan as the first one out, not even in the first four. They were the first team out of the NCAA tournament. But as we sit here today with 6 games left in the season for the Wolverines, they've won 3 of the last 4. They're 8-6 in the Big Ten, 7th overall right now, up to 14-10 overall. Ashton, I'll go to you first. Are you buying the turnaround for this Michigan team?
I'm buying it. The only reason I say that is Musa Diabate is the key. Him playing well, I think he'll, get on a run. Obviously a freshman, he's taking those freshman lumps, has been up and down, but he's the key to their team. He takes the pressure off Hunter Dickinson. He takes the pressure off Eli Brooks. And anytime we saw it today, anytime Iowa, doubled Hunter in the post, they made shots. Michigan made shots. Anytime they make shots from the perimeter and Diabate can finish, big time motor. I think he's definitely a key. At one point he was, facing up and hitting mid-range jump shots. This guy, he could be a first-round pick, not this year, but eventually. I think he's just that talented. But he's the key to their team, in my opinion. He's definitely the key. He takes pressure off Dickinson, and he, as good as he plays, the better they'll be.
Well, here's what happened in my opinion. Musa Diabate is doing all the little things now. He's realized, like, I'm not going to be the key cog. I'm going to try to get to that dunker spot and not do too much. And then when I get the chance to post up, I'm going to slow down a little bit. Whenever at the beginning of the season, he was in such a rush, he didn't really know where to go, and he wasn't getting to what he was good at. And what is he good at? Backing guys down, using his length, and getting over the top. At the beginning of the season, it seemed like he was trying to do everything else, like he was still in high school. And if he missed it, he could just go get it. You can't do that at the college level, especially in the Big Ten, and especially not when you go on the road against power conference team. That's going to make it hard. But here's the thing, too. Hunter Dickinson's passing out of double teams really well. Mm-hmm. This was the first game where, not really the first game, he's kind of started to figure it out a little bit, but he's starting to put him on a dime. And to kind of counter your point, I didn't think they shot the ball particularly well from the 3. But Ashton, what I did think they did was they created closeout situations to where their athletes could get in the paint. And then it kind of created some chain reactions. And because they're so big with Diabate and Dickinson in the lineup, they're able to enforce their will that way. Now, my question is Iowa the North Carolina of the Big Ten? What are they, 0-8 against the quad one? That's what scares me more than anything. Do they have top end talent? You bet your butt they do. But at the same time, like, you got to beat somebody at some point, guys.
Yeah, they are, first of all. If we're going to make this an in or out game, and before we move on from this game, if we're going to ask, is Michigan in or out, we're also going to have to do that for Iowa at this point, as crazy as that sounds, because they don't have a quad one win. I'm not certain that they're going to get one down the stretch of this season either. Now, Keegan Murray did deal with some cramps down the stretch of this game. He left the game in the middle of a Michigan run. It ballooned to like a 10-point game. So who knows what that game looks like if he was fully healthy for the entirety of it. The thing for me with Michigan is I buy them as the level they're playing at right now, as if they're a fringe top 25 team. I think had they not laid so many eggs in the non-conference, right now this team would be a no-brainer tournament team. They wouldn't be a top 4 seed or anything like that, but they've been playing good basketball. But also, when we talk about the way they're generating good looks and Dickinson passing out of the post and guys beating closeouts, that's happened during a stretch against 3 of the most poor defensive teams in the Big Ten. And not saying they're not good teams, but Purdue, Ohio State, and Iowa leave a lot to be desired on the defensive end of the floor. So I want to see this happen offensively for them against some teams that are a little bit tougher on that end. They're certainly going to have chances, but We have to talk about what Hunter Dickinson is doing, though, because as much as the Big Ten is a post-heavy conference and there's individual stars, and I think on this very show, we've talked a ton about Johnny Davis, deservedly so. We've talked about EJ Liddell, deservedly so. We've talked about Kofi Coburn, deservedly so. Here's some numbers on Hunter Dickinson. In conference play, he's averaging 21 points, 8 rebounds, 3 assists, shooting 39% from 3 on 3 attempts per game. If you compare Dickinson to Luka Garza, the National Player of the Year from last season, Dickinson has a better offensive rating on a usage rate that is 1% lower than what Luka Garza did last year. And no one's really talking about that because of Michigan's lack of team success. He's been ridiculous in conference play. And honestly, if they can just get in the tournament, I kind of think Hunter's the type of guy who can have 2 straight games himself and just get a couple made shots from Eli Brooks, a couple made shots from Devontae Jones. That might be enough for them to start pressing their way toward a Sweet 16. T.O., do you buy that as far as potential March success for Michigan?
I just don't think there's enough around. I mean, you got to shoot it. They went for a 20 tonight from 3, but what Michigan is doing that's different is they're sending guys at the basket when people come to double team him, because you have to double team him. That is a large human. Like, there's not many people that can match up with him on one-on-one. So you have to send a second guy. And what Michigan's doing, because they haven't been able to shoot it, is they're sending a cutter to the basket. And that's where he's getting his assists. I mean, the guy ended up with 14, 9, and 7 today, and 2 blocks. Like, the guy is a good player. Now, when you come and talk to me about first team All Big Ten, all that, they're 8-6 in conference. It's going to be hard for me to believe that, especially with as many good players that are in that league. But regardless,
let me ask you this:
second weekend,
somebody's going to make first team all conference between Hunter, between Keegan Murray, between Trace Jackson Davis. All 3 of those teams are going to end up on the bubble. Keegan Murray?
Yeah, well, is he leading one of the top 10 scorer, or he was top 10 scorers in the country or something like that. Like, you have to put him in. And without Keegan Murray, what is Iowa? Of course, same could be said for Michigan, but he's a terrific player. I just don't think there's enough firepower around the perimeter for Michigan to make a second weekend run.
I'll give you my negative. Oh, go ahead, Ashton. Go ahead, Ashton.
No, I agree for sure. I just don't think it's enough, especially from the perimeter around him. Obviously, Diabate playing much better is going to take some pressure off of him. I think the game is slowing down for Hunter, if anything, especially when double teams come. He's almost inviting the double team so he can make a pass and pickpocket where he wants to throw the ball on offense. So this is only going to help him. You know, even when he becomes a pro, it's just going to be so much easier to play and play with the ball, play without it. I think he's doing a really good job.
Yeah, when we talk about lack of help around him, the biggest reason for that to me is their bench. In the last 4 games, Juwan has really trimmed this rotation. Every starter has played 28 minutes or more. All 5 starters in 4 straight games. 4 of 5 every single game in that stretch have played 30 minutes or more. They're getting nothing from their bench, and it's just going to be really tough to sustain in March when you get to that point. All right, 1-word answer for both Michigan and for Iowa from both of you, and then we're going to talk about a couple games from last night. In or out, Michigan and Iowa. Ashton, give me 1-word answer for both.
In. Oh, no. For Michigan, in, Iowa, out.
T.O.?
Michigan out. Oh, no, don't do it to me, Satan. Iowa in.
Oh, that felt like a knife in the abdomen from UTO. I'm going Michigan in. I'm going Iowa in. I think they're both going to end up in. Iowa's going to end up winning some stupid game at home before the season ends. We'll see what it is.